Well, if you thought episode 4 was a killer, episode 5 will be a bummer for you, given that we see absolutely no signs of any kaiju. With a brand new release of the 5th episode titled The Way Out, the show actually sidetracks from the monster drama to make up its stop at complicated human matters. In the previous episode released last week, the series appeared to have hit its stride, with a gripping narrative which thrust Kate, May, Kentaro and Lee into a morbid scenario amidst the frigid expanses of Alaska, where they found themselves pursued by an icy titan named Frostvark, with the ability to basically suck moisture out of everything and freeze everything in the process. Episode 4 had served as a rigorous test for their survival skills, laying bare the vulnerability of humanity in a world dominated by giant monsters. Intriguingly enough, we were also treated to a good few glimpses of the origins of May and Kentaro's relationship in the past flashbacks, which were skillfully interwoven with their present struggle against hypothermia. Anyway, by the end of the episode, Kentaro proved to be a hero after he stumbled upon a radio station and ingeniously used the resources at his disposal to summon a helicopter to rescue the group from the kaiju's icy clutches. However, the crew's reprieve was short-lived, as they landed only to be confronted by their eponymous organization. The episode concluded with a rather massive cliffhanger as Tim of Monarch welcomed Colonel Shaw to the outpost. Now, episode 5 for sure marked a departure from the anticipated blockbuster-sized action sequences featuring Godzillas and the Titans. Instead, the focus shifted to the emotional journey of Kate and Kentaro as they combed through their father's office in the ruins of San Francisco, seeking clues about Hiroshi Randa's mysterious disappearance. Episode 5 delves into the aftermath of the prior episode, shedding light on the enigma surrounding Monarch's activities concerning the monsters. Now, I know it isn't what we had in mind, but still, let's take a look at the unfolding plot involving the multifaceted characters of this series. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Monarch may be full in manpower and resources, but they are definitely lacking the appropriate intel. Unlike all the other episodes, the 5th episode of Monarch Legacy of Monsters confines its narrative to the 2010s instead of the usual temporal swings back to the 50s. The story unfolds within the confines of the Monarch base in Alaska, with the crew finding themselves isolated in separate facilities while being closely observed by the Monarch personnel through cameras. The episode kicks off with Tim and his team successfully capturing the 4 runaways, prompting individual interrogations within their respective cells. And each of them seem to handle the situation quite differently. Kate screams at the camera to vocalize her lack of intimidation, while Kentaro exhibits visible aggression in his confinement, throwing a chair towards the camera. Meanwhile, May, still recovering from the Alaskan ordeal, finds herself in a questioning session with Duval, a Monarch employee who attempts to negotiate an agreement with her to recover the files they had unearthed from Hiroshi Randa. When she refuses to speak, Duval offers her a potential way out by discreetly passing her contact details. Simultaneously, Tim realizes that Kate, Kentaro and May possesses no substantial information and decides to release them immediately, though Deputy Director Verdugo insists on privately questioning Colonel Lee Shaw. Tim, however, sees potential in the trio and expresses his desire for them to join Monarch, asserting that they are already deeply involved. Despite this, Duval and Verdugo opt to release the trio, maintaining a loose leash on them in the hope that they might inadvertently lead Monarch to Hiroshi's whereabouts and reveal more of Randa's undisclosed knowledge. Imagine having control of the entire world's whereabouts only to rely on 3 powerless individuals to track a guy. Anyway, the trio is set free after Tim provides them new passports, plane tickets, and even money at the Nome, Alaska airport. While extending Monarch's apologies for the intrusion into their lives, Tim grows seemingly irate when his apology is met with nonchalance and warns them of their fortune in remaining alive even after meddling in Monarch's affairs, finally revealing his influential intervention in securing their release. Tim was also kind enough to mention that if they find themselves entangled with Monarch again, they certainly should not expect his help. Meanwhile, Colonel Lee Shaw remained in Alaska, held back by the Monarch, given that his situation was deemed of paramount importance by Deputy Director Verdugo, who really went all out with interrogating him, even if Lee opted for silence regarding his knowledge and predictions. We see this scene unfold in a compelling sequence as an aged video surfaces featuring a much younger Lee alongside Bill and Keiko. Within the confines of his cell, Lee is confronted with glimpses of his past, with a particularly striking moment capturing Wyatt and Kurt Russell appearing to merge into a single figure. And that alone was iconic. Deputy Director Verdugo takes this opportunity to release Lee's handcuffs, acknowledging that Monarch's existence stands on the shoulders of giants, with Lee being one of these crucial figures. In a retort, Lee counters that it feels more like Monarch is merely perched on his shoulders, thus accomplishing very little in the face of the Titan threat. As Duval pushes her interrogation further, all Lee mentions was how he remained steadfast in his belief that Monarch in its entirety had been misguided and ineffectual in addressing the looming monster crisis. He staunchly asserted that Monarch as an organization was outdated and rendered obsolete by their failure to adequately plan for the anticipated G-Day over the course of 60 years. Simultaneously, Duval, a keen observer, monitored the interrogation closely, revealing her clear lack of trust in the former employee's perspective and asserting that Lee will never escape Monarch's custody again. Now, in a separate conversation, Tim and Duval discuss something utterly bizarre: Lee's age, noting the disparity between his appearance given that he is 91 years old. Tim has apparently caught wind of rumors suggesting a failed mission that may have altered Lee's age. But Duval is still puzzled how Lee managed to discover a new Titan shortly after breaking out of a retirement home, in contrast to their team, who have discovered absolutely nothing worth nothing, even with all the fancy resources at their disposal. This time, we see the trio going to San Francisco. After the Monarch rogues finally leave the trio alone, Kentaro is taken aback to discover Mei's plan to fly back to Japan, while the fate of their father, Hiroshi, remains uncertain. Kate, on the other hand, insists on searching Hiroshi's San Francisco office for some more clues. Although Mei's laptop was frozen by the Frostvark Titan, she reveals she has a backup copy of Hiroshi's files and is willing to share them. However, her willingness to assist is tempered by her reluctance to further involve herself in their quest to find their father, given that she had nothing else to contribute. But Kate is convinced they cannot proceed without Mei's help and proposes raiding Hiroshi's office in San Francisco. Eventually, Kentaro and Mei agree to Kate's plans and the trio find themselves at the Oakland CA airport, planning to embark on their journey. As they touch down, Kate's mood takes a downturn when her mum's work friend James appears in a van to pick them up. As they drive out of the airport, the haunting remnants of the old city come into view, a place still grappling with the aftermath of a cataclysmic event of G-Day. During their drive through the Alameda Point FEMA Housing Mobile Home Park, James provides insights into the residents' reluctance to leave despite FEMA's housing offers outside San Francisco. Plus, the group is further shocked to learn that tourists used to pay to witness the destroyed city until the military cordoned it off. Soon they reach Kate's home, and as the awkwardness mounts, Kate decides to break the news of Hiroshi's other family to her mother, Caroline. However, this introduction occurs much sooner than planned, as Caroline is stunned to meet Kentaro, her husband's son, who was previously unknown to her. Despite the revelation, she welcomes them into her home, which goes on to say how kind she really is. We soon learn that Caroline and James collect personal items from the ruins as part of their jobs. But Kate is almost appalled at her mother's reaction emotionless approach and sends Kentaro and Mei into another room to spare them the discomfort of her conversation with her mother. As Kate and Caroline discuss the shocking revelation of Hiroshi's secret family, leading to a candid and emotional conversation, Caroline confesses that she pushed Kate to go to Tokyo after Godzilla's attack, as she had been holed up in her room, deeply depressed and isolated. Soon after an overheated discussion, Kate mentions their aim to visit Hiroshi's office for clues, even after learning that the military shoots or arrests any trespasser. Caroline realizes the gravity of Kate's determination and decides to support her. Together with James, they drive FEMA van to the reconstruction area entrance at South Pier, managing to get through by bribing the guard. Once inside the destroyed city, Kentaro marvels at its authenticity, prompting Kate to reflect on the human tendency to dismiss the reality of Titans as a coping mechanism. As Caroline and James prepare to leave, James provides flashlights to the trio and cautions them about the consequences of being mistaken for looters. They all plan to meet back at 8 a.m., just ahead of the scheduled closing of the gate at 8:15 a.m. However, as the trio delve into this restricted area, Kate finds herself haunted by the ghosts of her past. Amidst the ruins, past memories of Kate's life as a schoolteacher, just days before G-Day flood her consciousness, and she suddenly remembers how the spectre of Godzilla's arrival changed everything in her once vibrant school brimming with bubbly children, forever altering the courses of their lives. Soon their secret mission is disrupted as they sneak through the decaying city. The military catches wind of their presence, setting off a chase through the dilapidated streets. Finding refuge in the subway, Kate is forced to grapple with resurfacing traumatic memories triggered by the familiar surroundings, and it is gradually revealed that Kate had been in a relationship, planning to move in with her girlfriend just before Godzilla's attack. However, this revelation stings, given that Kate had cheated on her partner the very next day. With soldiers closing in, Kate confronts her past while trying to evade capture. We witness how her conflicting emotions about her relationship shaped Kate's actions leading up to G-Day. The disclosure that she practically ended her relationship just before the Godzilla attack adds complexity to her character, basically giving us an idea of how the apple does not exactly fall far from the tree. Standing in the heart of the red zone, haunted by her own mistakes, Kate begins to believe she deserves every hardship she faces, while grappling with guilt over abandoning those closest to her, as she draws parallels between her actions and her father's. Amidst all this, Mei turns out to be her constant source of support, constantly consoling her while emphasizing on Kate's bravery in Alaska and assuring her that the only way out of this was going through it. Finally, Kate musters the strength to confront her inner demons as Mei's encouragement serves as a catalyst for her to rise above her self-imposed guilt, finally enabling them to escape the tunnels and press on with their mission. The trio might have found a major piece of this elaborate puzzle in Hiroshi's office. After making out of the subway, the trio found themselves in closer proximity to Kate's father's former workplace. Climbing to the top floor, they entered Hiroshi's office, determined to unearth clues before their limited time in the red zone expired. While there was some significant damage inside the office, the family photos on Hiroshi's desk still stood upright. As they searched for clues, Kentaro blatantly ripped the map off the wall, assuming there would be a safe underneath, since that is the exact place where it was located in Hiroshi's Japan office. Unfortunately, there was nothing but a blank wall behind the map. While their search initially seemed fruitless as the group found no apparent leads related to Monarch, the trio were faced with a seeming dead end. But Kate noticed that the satellite map from the wall had connections to similar constellations and points in Hiroshi's files and could be a key piece of the puzzle. As soon as Kentaro connected the dots in his mind, we saw how the mind of a true artist really works, as he utilized the sunlight to project a different image on the map, aligning it with the points from the Randa files. This innovative approach revealed significant points correlated with monsters and their global connections, including San Francisco, Alaska, and Africa. Ultimately, the trio surmised that Hiroshi might have used these points as a guide, hinting at a journey that led him directly to Africa after his plane crashed in Alaska. Next we know, the trio had returned to the relocation site unscathed. We see Kate share a moment with her mother, disclosing their belief that Hiroshi was still alive and they were all determined to find him. However, in a separate development, May reached out to Duval, signaling her desire to return home. Now this hinted at a potential deal, suggesting May's willingness to trade information about Kate and Kentaro's discoveries in exchange for something personal. This twist adds much more complex layers to the trio's alliance, as May's past becomes a potential focal point in the unfolding storyline. What is our verdict on this episode? Well, compared to all the other episodes from Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, The Way Out stands as the only episode to intricately reveal how the monsters and monarchs have always been a part of the Randa family's legacy. While the plots may not propel forward until the final moments, the episode is sprinkled with poignant moments such as Kate's mum finally breaking down and the endearing instance of Kate and Kentaro humming old commercial jingles, adding a lived-in and authentically human quality to the proceedings. It really showcased how both of them were equally loved by Hiroshi, and even if they grew up apart in two different continents, the camaraderie they shared over their father was what tied them together as siblings. However, the true standout is actually the focus on Kate and Dani's relationship. As someone deeply appreciative of media featuring queer women and giant monsters, the combination in the same show naturally left a lasting impression. The episode skillfully covers how Kate and Dani's relationship is characterized by its complexity and messiness. Despite their seemingly significant time together, Kate avoids committing to a long-term relationship, given that she maintains a distant, overpriced apartment, engages in relationships with other women without Dani's knowledge, and consistently pushes Dani away, despite Dani's unwavering efforts to foster a supportive connection. Kate is, after all, her father's daughter, and that only cements the whole deal when Dani states that even if things are fine, Kate is too toxic to settle for any form of stability. Crucially, the complicated nature of their relationship does not stem from its queerness, but rather from Kate being a flawed individual navigating her own self-discovery and making imperfect decisions along the way. Now, this portrayal does not cast Kate as a bad person, but instead paints her as a person grappling with her own complexities. Such nuance and depth are unfortunately rare in mainstream depictions of queer characters, making it remarkably refreshing to witness in this episode. What do we think might happen in the upcoming episode of Monarch, Legacy of Monsters? Although the cliffhanger from this episode is a bit lukewarm, there is no harm or foul to place some safe bets by cooking up some kaiju-themed conspiracy. As of what is known in bits and pieces, episode 6 of the series, titled as Terrifying Miracles, is set to release on the 15th of December, with an anticipation to deliver some heart-pounding kaiju action on Apple TV+. Now, there are lurking rumors that Colonel Lee Shaw is apparently going to find an unexpected ally or source of support within the Monarch organization, potentially reshaping the trajectory of his storyline and influencing the organization's operations. Maybe he won't die in a cell after all. On the other hand, Kate, Kentaro, and May are likely to confront a challenging and intense scenario. I mean, it is pretty much given that after they find the map, they will be on their way to track Hiroshi down, most probably in Africa. However, the trio's expedition might involve threats from monsters, rival factions, or even unforeseen obstacles which would constantly put their skills and unity to the test. So maybe finally we will see a brand new kaiju, or a juicy kaiju fight to make up for the lack of new kaiju faces in the past 2 episodes. And if the trio finally get to meet Hiroshi, it better be worth the wait. But I don't think the group will be alone for too long, given that they are being tailed by Monarch everywhere they go. Plus, in the upcoming episode, there is quite an anticipation for the deepening connection between Kaiko and Colonel Lee Shaw, which will finally take us to a 50s flashback. Their relationship is expected to evolve, offering viewers moments of genuine connection or understanding between these two characters. Well, even though I expected episode 5 to deliver us with richer kaiju bangers, it stuck to the complexities of its human characters, which was not exactly a stalemate because the nuanced portrayal of Kate's past life was truly intricate. And given that episode 4 specifically focused on Kentaro's past, exploring Kate's past should definitely not be considered as a shocker. Most importantly, I think we will finally see Mei's character unravel in the upcoming episodes, because it would only be fair to explore her past history, which has forced her to become the girl with more secrets than the CIA. Anyway, now that we have come to the very end of this episode, what do you think Mei's real deal is? Let us know in the comment box below.